If you're listening to this podcast, you've enrolled in criminal law CRJ 225 for the summer session. You've also hopefully reviewed the orientation video I asked you to watch. And you know about me, the program, the course expectations. If you haven't done that, stop this podcast and go finish that task ASAP. Most of you have experience with online courses. Many of you have experience with me and my style of presenting online courses. By enrolling in an online course, you understand that you will be required to participate in course discussions. Quality online learning requires you actually read and reply to the discussions of other students. And logging in one day in a given week for a 15-minute period just before the first deadline for the week isn't going to get you there, especially not in the summer. And I may say this more than once, and I may say it more than once over the next 4 weeks or so, but the summer's 8 weeks, and that means the work that you would do in a normal semester is compressed into 2 weeks, or 2 weeks worth of work into 1 week. It's fast and it's furious, and you have to devote the time. Where in the fall or spring semester, I might tell you for this course, you should plan on spending somewhere between 3 and 6 hours a week on this course. You should plan on spending somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 12 hours per week, depending on you, your focus, your ability to do the things as you're expected to do them. And if you don't make that time, real quick in the first few weeks, you may hear from me suggesting that you probably drop the course. If you do those things, you're going to learn criminal law. And that's a course that's primary to anybody that's probably enrolled in this class, because anybody that enrolls in this class is typically a law enforcement student, a legal studies student, a criminal justice student, or a 911 dispatch student. You need to know this stuff. You need to be familiar with the criminal law. You will appreciate your effort to learn the criminal law this summer. You'll see better opportunities, better pay. You'll be rewarded across the course of your career and appreciated. So start a focus on expecting excellence and effort from yourself now, this summer, in this course. You will appreciate the effort. I will appreciate the effort. And it's going to pay off for you in the years to come. So now let's shift to talk a little bit about crime, where we really want to be. A crime is typically defined as any act or omission in violation of a law prohibiting the action or omission. Let me say that again. A crime is typically defined as any act or omission. So something that someone does or something that someone fails to do in violation of a law prohibiting the action or omission. Now, distinguished from the civil law, and you have to start thinking of criminal and civil. Probably the best visualization is if you've ever gone to the courthouse. There are multiple courtrooms in any given courthouse. Typically, if you live in one of the smaller counties like Stark or one of those counties, you may only have one, possibly one larger and one much smaller courtroom. But if you go to a courthouse like the Peoria County or the Tazewell County Courthouse, there's multiple courtrooms that take up that building. Those courtrooms are divided primarily into civil law or criminal law. Civil law is anything that's not criminal. Anything that's not focused on an act or omission that's prohibited by the government for the purposes of the public, protecting the public. Criminal law focuses on punishment of an individual who commits an act or fails to commit an act prohibited by or expected by statute or defined as a specific crime. In other words, we typically think of a civil case as being two individuals in a dispute over their rights, a personal injury, or a dispute over a business contract, or something that seeks or involves the pursuit of money damages, not someone going to jail or being punished, penalized. A criminal case involves the government, the prosecutor. Civil cases involve two private lawyers. The prosecutor decides whether to seek punishment of an individual for an act or omission that caused someone else, the victim, or the public at large, and we're going to talk about that. Most cases we have a specific victim, but sometimes we have crimes that go towards protecting the public, all of us. Now, each state has its own criminal code. The federal government has a criminal code. Congress has chosen to punish certain conduct, and the federal criminal code can be found at Title 18 of the U.S. Code. But the Illinois criminal statutes are linked for your convenience to our course site, and the documents that I provide to you for this course give you the citations and the verbiage from those statutes, so you can always find these statutes. You need to start to think about your ability to find these statutes, because most of you are going to end up in a career where you're going to have to go back to these statutes over and over again. Now, Illinois criminal statutes, as I said, are linked to the course site. They're found at 720 ILCS 5/1, formerly Chapter 38 in my day. And it begins with, this act may be cited as a criminal code. You need to go and read these first few paragraphs, but they provide, and I'm going to summarize it for you, but you need to go read these paragraphs. They provide the general purpose for the criminal code, and they use the word shall. Shall, when you see a statute, means must. It doesn't mean you can if you want. And in the criminal realm, most of our statutes begin with shall. You shall or you shall not do certain things. But this one says that the code shall be construed in accordance with the general purposes of forbidding and preventing the commission of offenses. And then the offenses are all the things we're going to flesh out over the course of the next 8 weeks. It requires that the legislature define adequately the act and mental state. When we're on the civil side of the courtroom, and if you think about some of the people you see advertising on TV that they'd love to help you if you're involved in a car accident or get injured, yada, 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 those are typically negligence or without intention. Crimes require a mental state, intent, the intent to commit an act, or sometimes the intent to do something that's so reckless that it creates a crime or falls into that realm. The statutes have to prescribe penalties that are proportionate to the seriousness of the offenses, and they permit recognition of differences in rehabilitation possibilities among individual offenders. So in other words, some of you may have had juvenile delinquency and know that we typically think of juveniles as being unable to form the same intent, the same level of intent, although that's often debated when juveniles are committing adult acts, stealing vehicles at 13 or 14 and by gunpoint, etc. But generally, that's where that's going. And the statutes are to prevent arbitrary or oppressive treatment of individuals or persons accused or convicted of offenses. And then that's, typically you'll see that come out in the penalties. I want you to spend some time looking around the Illinois Criminal Code as linked on the course side. The Criminal Law Handbook and the Illinois Pattern Jury Instructions are also linked. Now, the Criminal Law Handbook provides guidance on all things criminal law. The Illinois Pattern Jury Instructions, for those of you that don't know this, anytime you have a jury trial in Illinois, and each state has its own jury instructions, as do the federal courts, there are a prescribed set of jury instructions that a judge will give to a jury in a particular case. So we're not coming up with, and shouldn't come up with, instructions to the jury as to, for instance, assault or a battery charge on an Illinois statute on battery. The jury instructions that are given a jury in Peoria County should be fairly consistent with jury instructions given in Tazewell County or McLean County or Cook County or whatever county within Illinois. The people that have had me for civil litigation know that I always say that if I'm going to draft a complaint in a civil case, I always go to the jury instructions to see what it is I'm going to have to prove at trial if I get to trial, because many civil cases, just like many criminal cases, never get to a trial. Civil cases are settled, criminal cases are pled out. But the jury instructions tell me where I have to end up, what the law expects of me at the end. And so when I'm drafting, my pleading, a complaint in the civil case, if I'm proposing an indictment or a complaint in a criminal case, it's not a bad idea to look at or review the jury instructions, be familiar with the jury instructions. Now, some of this, especially if you do a lot of work in the criminal law area, is going to become very familiar. And many things aren't going to change. And when things do change, they change in a big way. We'll talk about that more as the semester goes on. Now, granted, there's a lot of work expected of you this week. And if you took this course in the fall and the spring, as I said, you'd have more time to do these things. Everything I'm going to ask you to do this week, you would have done over a couple weeks. But I'm asking you to go and look at these things now and spend some time now and do a lot of work on the front end of the course, because it's going to make it easier for you as we move through weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and get to week 8 when you have your final, which is, I give you the preview, you're going to write a police report essentially based on a set of circumstances I'm going to introduce to you, and you're going to identify what crimes occurred and describe the people who committed the various acts, etc., that you're going to be prepared to do by time you get to that final week of the class, if you put in the work now. As I've said before, it's important for you, not me, and especially for anyone who seeks a job in law and justice, to grasp the importance of the specific elements of crime and the need to always look at the statute to make sure those elements are present by the facts of the incident you are investigating and responding to. Assault and battery are a great introduction, and that's why it's part of your week 1 assignment. Because while these two crimes may occur separately, and in many cases an assault precedes a battery, so they may be charged at the same time. When we focus on the element of intent, the facts typically present circumstances in which the victim had reason to fear a blow or harmful contact. And then when that contact eventually comes, we have the battery. So the assault is the reason to fear a blow or harmful contact. And the battery is when that contact actually comes. The other focus this week is to have you experience recognition of intent or the facts that may indicate intent. And most often we extract the intent from the action, not words. Not words or statements about what was intended, because let's face it, people lie. And I don't really care what you intended by your action. If your action caused harm to someone, I don't care what it is you're telling me. If the facts indicate that you pulled your fist back and punched somebody in the head, you intended to do that. It wasn't an accident. As an example, if you happen to be walking through the park, enjoying the day, minding your own business, and you approach a park bench from behind, and someone's sitting on the park bench eating sunflower seeds, and as you pass them, they turn and spit sunflower seeds all over you. There's any baseball players or people who play baseball, you probably remember, or softball too, the dugouts and the sunflower seeds. Is that a crime or an accident? Now assume that you're walking towards the bench and the person sitting there eating sunflower seeds is an acquaintance with whom you've had a past conflict. That individual starts to curse at you, speak aggressively, call you derogatory names, and they stand up and spit sunflower seeds all over your face. Which of those sets of facts might be written up as a criminal act on the facts of what occurred? Well, to know that, you have to look up the elements of assault and battery, and if you've done that work, you do that work, you'll know right away it's a battery. A battery's not just punching someone. Harmful, offensive touching. You know, is it offensive that somebody spits sunflower seeds all over you? If it's intentional, possibly it's a battery. Now, hopefully after this week, you recognize the answer would be the second set of facts is a criminal action. The combined actions and words of the perpetrator show intent. And it's that combined action of the words and the action. Unlike the first scenario, in which it's just a matter of bad timing all around. I'm going to ask you to read a case, and throughout the semester, you're going to be asked to read cases. In this case, the police had an issue about properly collecting and reporting the facts regarding the elements of the crime, including mental state. If you don't do things properly, you can have an otherwise good arrest fail. You can have a conviction that should have occurred because someone did commit a criminal act fall apart. You You can exacerbate issues through the prosecutor and the trial court. Now, when you read that case, think of those things, and that's what you will see. When I give you my comments for this week, I will include my breakdown of that case, but what I really want you to focus on is how this lack of being clear, being careful, of looking at the elements, of thinking about how to write a report, about thinking about how to do things all the way through the system may have hindered that conviction. I used to defend appeals in criminal cases for the Illinois Attorney General. My division, back then we had capital punishment. So we had death penalty cases and life in prison cases. We no longer have the death penalty in Illinois. We also had every other kind of crime. You would see where these failures would come. Typically, it's from going too fast, failing to take the time to know the elements, failing to investigate and properly connect the facts of what occurred to the elements. So you being able to know what the elements are, being able to identify, recognize and identify and communicate mental state, intent, and each element of a crime is going to start the ball rolling in the right direction. That's our focus here in week 1. Now, week 2, we're going to move right to the defenses of crimes. Infancy, insanity, intoxication, negligence, self-defense, defense of others, use of force. And then after that, fast and furious, we're going to get through all the different categories of crimes in Illinois over this final, really over the next 5 weeks, and then leading up to your final exam or your final assignment. As I said at the beginning of this podcast, find the time, make the time, be consistent, use your calendar. All right, put on your calendar. You know what your week looks like typically. If your work schedule changes, change your calendar each week per your work schedule. Commit to the time that you're going to spend on this class. Spend the time. You'll never regret it. If you don't, at some point you're going to play catch up. All right? I don't want you to play catch up when you are out there on the street doing the job, or when you're trying to get the job and you look like a goof in the interview because you don't know this stuff and you need to know it. So my hope is over the 8 weeks of this summer session, you do that. You put in the work. If you do, it'll pay off. I'm around if you need me. I always end these by saying, if you need me, you know where to find me, and you do know where to find me. If you hit me with an email, give me your number, and when you're available, I'll call you. If we need to meet, we can meet virtually or we can meet in person at Poplar Hall, but we'll figure it out. In the interim, use your calendar. You know what the deadlines are. The deadlines stay the same until the last week of the class, possibly. Depending on how 4th of July falls, it may be a little different that particular week. But that just depends. So stay tuned. I always let you know ahead of time. And otherwise, get to work.